Welcome to another episode of The Art of Bird Photography. In this episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about a southern lapwing photo I'm working on. It's so far mostly done, but I'm still working on it. I tend to work on my photos a lot. I like to go back and redo things or catch things I missed the first time. I'm going to be talking about some of the things I have been looking at and some of the adjustments I've made, mostly in terms of tone and color. Yes, tone and color, especially in the background, is quite important in bird photography. So let's get to this southern lapwing shot and you'll see what I'm talking about. This is my southern lapwing, and I've done quite a lot of adjustments to it. I've turned them off so I can kind of tell you about some of the more subtle ones. Well, first of all, I would like to tell you about the top right corner. You see these corners, the left corner, the top left corner, this little area here, they're all kind of dark, and this bright spot on the top right corner seems out of place. It just happened that there was a little bit of light coming from there. It's not a huge and terrible distraction, but yeah, I added a little bit of a tone adjustment there. Turned it right off, and see, it somehow makes the photo very unbalanced if you have that bright spot in the corner. So I did that. Maybe I could have adjusted it a little bit more, but I'm not a fan of I don't want the background to look too fake, but if there's a really bright spot, it's okay, I think, to turn it down a bit. Also, there's another thing. You see the lapwing, if you zoom in here, by the way, if I do zoom in, you'll see that at 100%, there's plenty of feather detail here. If you don't see this individual feather detail, maybe I'll zoom into 200% so you can really see it. Or 400%. Look at all that beautiful feather detail. See, if you don't see that feather detail, then that's not a good thing. You should have some individual feather detail in your bird shots. But anyway, going back to the shot at hand. Yes, if you look here, you'll see that the lapwing has some whitish feathers coming out of its side. That's not very good, in my opinion. It draws a little bit too much attention. Of course, birds have these little things. It's good to get rid of them, so I just had a little bit of a tone curve adjustment there. You see? On, off, on, off. And by adding just a little bit of tone curve, you see just bringing down, see the mask is just applied to this area here. You see that yellow stuff? That's the mask. Just a small adjustment like this will totally reduce the emphasis of bright area, and it's important to get rid of those things that don't look like they're deliberate. What else do we got? Top left corner. Well, you see that the top left here, it's near the head of the bird and it looks a little dark. So what I did was I brightened that area just a little bit. You'll see off, on, off, on. And it almost looks like to me that when it's off, like when there's no adjustment, it looks to me like there's a little bit of a dark splotch there. It almost looks like the splotch is like maybe there was a finger on the lens. Of course there wasn't, but I'm just saying it looks a little weird. By adding a little brightening in that area, you kind of make it a little more uniform around the bird's head, and you don't have this dark spot. Dark spots near the head of things, near the heads of birds, it might look kind of strange if the rest of it's not as dark. Also the grass. The grass, you see the grass is looking pretty decent. Not really a fan of the way they cut the grass in this park because they cut it too short and it gets these sort of yellow spots here, which aren't so good. So what I did was I made a tone curve, a slight darkening, and you'll see the mask is very gentle. It targets those bright areas of grass, off, on, and you'll see it's hard to notice on screen, but these little bright spots, this is on. If I turn it off, these bright spots here, they're a little bit too bright and they catch attention, they're a little bit too rough. If I turn this thing on, it just softens it ever so slightly, like a very small amount. And all that does is it makes the grass look a little less rough. Okay, I think was that all the tone curves I was doing? Pretty much all the tone curve adjustments I did. There are a few other things that I noticed, and now I'm coming to the big stuff. Okay, I turned this on, you didn't notice it, but look, I'm turning it off now. I forgot to turn that off so you could see it, but in this area, to me, there's a little bit too much red here. Somehow something in the background is causing this area to be too red. Now this is an important point. If you have areas of your background that have too much unusual color different from the main color of the background, it can draw unnecessary attention to the eye of the viewer. So you kind of want to not get rid of them. I don't recommend getting rid of them because that's kind of maybe too extreme for photography, but I do recommend toning them down. So I'm going to tone down those colored spots, you'll see. And what I just did is I just added a little bit of green split toning to tone down those shadows in the background. You'll see it's only at opacity 75%. It's just applied to that area in a gradient mask. It just gets rid of a little bit of the prominent reds. It doesn't get rid of them all. You still have a little bit of a red hue you can see here, some interest in the background, but it gets rid of a little bit too much of that red tone. Now that's arguable. Whether you actually want to get rid of that, that's arguable. You could argue for or against it. I thought it was too strong. It wasn't a big deal. If I didn't get rid of it, I probably wouldn't mind too much. To me, it's a little bit too strong, though. It draws the eye. Leaving a little bit of it there still allows it to pick up or match the reds in the wings. So I didn't get rid of it completely like I could have, but it's a little bit too strong. But what's even worse for me is down here, there's a random blue thing in the corner. And stuff in the corner of your photo really draws attention. Look, it looks like some kind of foggy blue stuff. I don't know. I think that was caused by an out of focus lily pad or something in the water. I'm not sure, but there was water in the background. Yes, this lapwing was standing on a hill, and the hill goes down to the water. That's probably why they like it, a little bit of the edge of the water type thing. But there's a little bit too much blue there. It really draws my eye, much more so than the other parts of the photo. So I added, the way to get rid of that, typically, is to use the colorize module or some color modifying module. You see what happens? On, off, on. Now the bluish tinge in the background is vastly reduced. You'll see that there's a mask there. I just drew a little bit of a soft circular gradient mask and got rid of a little bit of that blue color. That really disturbs the peace of this photo. Once that's gone, it looks so much better. So yeah, those are all the modifications I made to this one. I'll show you the before and after. It's not a great amount of changes, but it does remove some distracting elements and make the photo overall more peaceful. And I really do believe that in photography, the small things that contribute to the sort of subconscious perception of a photo are probably the most important in post-processing, because the obvious stuff, well, that you're going to get rid of that anyway. You're going to not get rid of it, but you're going to take care of the obvious stuff anyway, like proper exposure, sharpening. I mean, at least if you do some careful sharpening. Other stuff, the easy stuff, you're going to do it. But the unobvious stuff, the stuff that's hidden in the background, in the subconscious perception, are things to watch out for. And in this episode, I showed you that too much color differences or color splotches in the background can be one of those things. Too bright corners can be another one of those things. And a little bit of roughness in slightly out of focus grass can be another one of those things. So I didn't show you all the edits I made in this photo. That would take way too long to explain and edit the video, but I did show you the basics here. And I hope that helped you a little bit in thinking about the background and other stuff in bird photography. And I'll see you again next time.